It's funny how the biggest earthquakes in your life don't start with a roar. They don't start with a storm. They start with a whisper, a tiny, almost silent click in the machinery of your reality. For me, that whisper was a phone vibrating in a jacket pocket, a jacket that wasn't supposed to have a phone in it. My name is Lena, and for 6 years, I believed I was living a love story. The kind you see in movies, the kind you read about in books. Mark was my leading man. Charming, successful, with a smile that could light up the darkest room. We had the life people dream of. A beautiful home, careers we loved, a future that stretched out in front of us like a sun-drenched road. We were a team, partners. I trusted him with my life, with my heart, with every single secret I had. The day it all started was a Tuesday. Just a normal, boring Tuesday. Mark was getting ready for a business trip, a 2-day conference in a city a few hours away. He was bustling around our bedroom, packing his carry-on, humming some tune off key. "Don't forget your charger, babe," I called out from the doorway. He smiled that easy smile of his. "Got it, thanks. I'll miss you." I walked over and straightened his tie, a silly little habit I'd had since our first date. He kissed my forehead. It felt normal. It felt like love. As he shrugged on his favorite gray blazer, the one I'd bought him for our anniversary, I heard it. A low, muffled buzz. Not the familiar melody of his primary iPhone, which was sitting right there on the dresser. This was different. A generic, robotic hum. "What was that?" "Your phone's right here." He froze for a fraction of a second. A pause so brief, I would have missed it if I wasn't standing right there. Then he chuckled, a sound that suddenly felt a little too forced. Oh, probably just the hotel confirmation email buzzing my watch. You know how it is. He patted his pocket, and the buzzing stopped. He gave me one last quick kiss, grabbed his main phone and bag, and was out the door with a wave. "Love you. I'll call you tonight." And just like that, I was alone. The house was quiet, but the silence felt different now. It was heavy. It was filled with that single, unanswered buzz. A hotel confirmation? On his watch. But his watch didn't buzz for emails. I knew that. I knew him, or at least I thought I did. The seed of doubt had been planted, and in the fertile soil of a perfect life, doubt grows with terrifying speed. The next 2 days were agony. When Mark called that night, his voice was light, cheerful. He talked about the conference, the boring speakers, the bad coffee. All I could hear was the space between his words, the empty space where the truth should have been. My mind, once a place of peace and plans, became a prison of questions. What was in that pocket? Why did he lie about his watch? He came home on Thursday, full of hugs and stories. He was the same Mark, but he wasn't. Because I wasn't the same Lena. The trusting Lena was gone, replaced by a detective, a hunter in her own home. I watched him. I noted how he never, ever took that gray blazer off the hanger in his closet. He'd wear other jackets, but that one stayed put. A week passed. The memory of the buzz started to fade, dulled by the routine of our life. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe it was just stress. I decided to let it go. I was folding laundry, trying to push the paranoia away when I needed a pen. Mark always kept one in his inner blazer pocket. I walked to the closet, reached for the gray blazer, and slipped my hand into the silk-lined pocket. My fingers didn't find a pen. They brushed against cold, hard plastic. My heart didn't just skip a beat. It felt like it stopped entirely. The air left my lungs. There, in the darkness of the pocket, was a phone. A small, sleek black smartphone. A second phone. The whisper had just become a scream. With trembling hands, I pulled it out. It was locked, of course. A password screen glowed back at me. This was it. The proof, the concrete evidence that my perfect world was a lie. But proof of what? A secret work project? A gambling problem? Or the thing I feared most? Another woman. I held the secret in my hand, and my entire world, every happy memory, every shared dream, shattered into a million jagged pieces. The man I loved, the man I was going to build a family with, was a stranger. And I was standing in our home alone, holding the key to his double life. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. A strange, cold calm settled over me. The shock was so profound it short-circuited the emotion. This was no longer about my broken heart. This was a mission. I needed to know the truth. The whole ugly, devastating truth. I took the phone to my home office, my sanctuary that had suddenly become a war room. I tried every password I could think of. His birthday, my birthday, our anniversary, nothing. I thought about his patterns. He was a creature of habit. What did he use everywhere else? And then it hit me. The code for our home security system. A number he used constantly. My fingers shook as I typed in the 4 digits, 1927. The screen unlocked. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I was standing at the edge of a cliff, about to look down into an abyss. The home screen was sparse. Only a few apps, messages, photos, an encrypted messaging app I didn't recognize, and his email. I opened the messages app first. There was only one conversation thread. No name saved. Just a phone number. And the messages, they started with mundane things, but quickly escalated. Can't stop thinking about you. Last night was incredible. When can I see you again? My stomach churned. I felt physically sick. I scrolled up, my vision blurring, until I saw a photo he had sent. It was a selfie of him in a hotel room, smiling. The timestamp was the night of his business trip. The night he had called me, telling me he missed me. But it was the photo she sent back that broke me. It was a woman smiling in what was unmistakably our bed. Our bedroom. The photo was taken in our house on a day I was visiting my mother out of town. He had brought her here, into our sanctuary. He had defiled the one place I felt safest. The betrayal wasn't just an affair. It was a violation. It was a brutal, calculated invasion of every part of my life. He hadn't just cheated on me. He had erased me, replaced me in my own home. The pain was a physical fire, burning me from the inside out. I ran to the bathroom and threw up, my body rejecting the horrific reality. The tears finally came, hot and furious. But as I sat there on the cold tile floor, something else began to rise through the agony. Something cold and hard and determined, rage. This wasn't the end of my story. This was the beginning of his revenge is a dish best served cold, they say. And in that moment, I had never been colder. The heartbroken Lena was packed away. In her place was someone else. Someone with a clear, singular purpose. I wouldn't just leave him. I would dismantle the life he had built using my trust, my love, my support. I would take everything. And I would do it so perfectly, so quietly, he would never see it coming. This wasn't going to be a messy confrontation. This was going to be a strategic demolition. I became the architect of his ruin. My plan had 3 phases. Phase 1, information. I needed to know everything. I started discreetly documenting every message, every photo, every call log from the second phone. I sensed its photos to a private cloud drive I created. I noted bank details, logins he had autosaved on the browser. I was building a case, not for a court of law, but for the court of his own life. Phase 2, financial fortress. We had a joint account for household expenses, but we also had separate accounts where our salaries were deposited. Over the years, because I was better with money, I handled all our investments. I knew all the passwords to his solo investment portfolios. I began slowly and carefully to liquidate his assets. Not all at once, small amounts. Moving money from his investment accounts into an offshore account I set up under a shell corporation. I was a ghost, siphoning away his financial future penny by penny, dollar by dollar. Phase 3, the social trap. I needed to isolate him. I started subtly changing how I acted around our mutual friends. I'd seem a little distant when Mark was praised. I'd let a sad, worried look cross my face when he told a story about his late nights at the office. I was planting seeds, tiny seeds of doubt in the minds of everyone we knew, so that when the truth finally exploded, they would look back and say, "Oh, we should have known." Poor Lena, she knew all along. For 2 months, I lived this double life. The loving, supportive fiancé by day, the cold, calculating strategist by night. I smiled at him over dinner, asking about his day, all while knowing I had just transferred another $5,000 of his money into my secret vault. It was the hardest performance of my life. Every smile felt like a betrayal of myself. But I held on, because the finale, the climax I had planned, would be worth it. The perfect opportunity arrived in the most cruel, poetic way possible. Our wedding planning. We were supposed to get married in 4 months. The venue was booked, the deposits were paid. It was going to be the celebration of our dream life. Now, it would be the stage for its destruction. We were sitting at the kitchen island, looking at floral arrangements. He was being so attentive, so present. The guilt, I realized, must have been eating him alive. Little did he know, he had no idea what real guilt felt like. Not yet. What about these peonies? You've always loved peonies. They're perfect, I said, my voice sweet. You know, Mark, I've been thinking, with my annual bonus coming in and your investments doing so well, why don't we pay for the entire wedding up front? As a fresh start, a clean slate before.